Chapter 2. Dayo did not understand what had happened. He awoke on the melted snow and looked around in confusion. A Dalek was standing over him, its gunstick trained on him.
"You will stand slowly and make no hostile action," it grated.
What happened?" Dayo asked. He looked around at the carnage. Metal clumps and girders were all that remained of the constructed base. Slaves were injured, and one even appeared to be dead, lying unmoving in the snow. Other Daleks were barking commands, ordering evacuation of the injured to the nearest medical centre. Ryuk was helping John, who had sustained burns to his arm. He sprayed his arm with something and John thanked him. Ryuk then turned to Dayo in fury. He drew his sword and levelled it at him. "What are you?" he asked. Dayo was scared, but also angry. So angry. "Someone like you dares to ask me that question!" Dayo said defiantly.
"Do not disrespect the General,"
warned the purple and grey Dalek nearest Ryuk. "You summoned fire with your bare hands," Ryuk stated. "You have destroyed the outpost, undoing months of work." I didn't mean... I don't know how Dayo stammered, and he meant it. He truly had no idea what was happening to him. But he felt the fire. It burned inside him. He looked at where the outpost had stood. There was now a large black hole which seemed to lead to nowhere, a dark abyss. "Well then, I'm sure the science Daleks will have more answers for us, once they do a full examination of your biology. First, they'll do scans, then they'll be more invasive. I dare say, dissection may be the best possible course of action," Ryuk seethed. Dayo panicked. He gulped and stared at the winged general for a moment, evaluating his options. So he had gone from a powerless slave to a powerless specimen. He did not find this favourable. Better to die now trying to escape than be a slab of meat on the operating table. You will never take me alive!" Dayo roared and sent a ball of flame hurtling at the Dalek which aimed at him. The fire scorched the Dalek which screamed. Dayo turned in the confusion and ran. "Come on, you fools!" he called to the other slaves. "Now is your chance to be free!" Daleks began to fire upon Dayo, who rolled away from the blast by luck more than judgment. Ryuk was checking on the damaged Dalek. Its casing was merely a little melted, nothing too major. He looked up at the fleeing Dayo, who leaped down the chasm without hesitation. A handful of other slaves followed him.
"Stay where you are, do not move,"
called out a Dalek. "Slaves escaping! Exterminate!" Another Dalek, the leader on Harmo, a sub-commander of Conquest Army 7, cried out. Daleks began to fire on the fleeing slaves. 2 were instantly hit with blasts and fell unmoving. "Hold fire!" Ryuk ordered, as the 4 slaves who were attempting to escape jumped down the hole after Dayo. The commander turned towards Ryuk.
"Why did you order us to hold fire? The slaves were attempting to escape. Now they have succeeded."
"If they jumped down there, they're either already dead or we can round them up alive. The Emperor wouldn't want us to be wasteful. I'll take 3 of my Daleks down there to investigate how deep the chasm goes. I doubt the humans will get far," Ryuk said.
"Understood," the commander said. "I must make a full report to the Emperor. Construction is halted. We will have to start again from scratch."
"Then proceed," Ryuk said briskly. Although the Commander Dalek was Ryuk's inferior, technically, he did not dignify the hybrid with an "I obey." He simply turned and ordered his Daleks to take the slaves back to their habitation zone. Ryuk turned to the 3 Daleks who remained, Lex, Trip and Snidge.
"I have never seen anything like the pyrotechnic abilities the human-designated Dayo possesses,"
Trip said in a high-pitched voice. Lex concurred.
"He is dangerous. I find it doubtful that he is dead. The high snow content of this planet indicates their fall was probably broken. As you suggest, we shall pursue and recapture them."
Ryuk turned to Snidge. He had invited him to keep a close eye on him. The pair had not seen eye to eye a lot recently. Well, ever. "That all right with you, Senior Supervisor?" Ryuk asked, not really caring about his answer.
"As you say, General. Shall we begin?"
Snidge responded. "Yes, engage hover mode and descend," Ryuk ordered. The 3 Daleks lifted off the snowy ground, and Ryuk engaged his thrusters and carefully descended into the chasm, the 3 Daleks following him, one by one. Far across space, in a dark room, Ana Watling groaned as she awoke. She heard the rustling of chains and felt their cold metal bite her wrists and ankles. She tried to move, but it was futile. She was secured to the side of a dark room. The only light that she could see came from a nearby monitor, which had a surveillance position over several places in Alliance HQ, including Nate's office, the council chambers, and others she did not recognize. Ana tried to remember what had happened. She had heard Andrew's voice. She had opened the door, and Colonel Thorne had been standing there, speaking with Bolt's voice. And then everything went dark. He had clearly locked her away, but why? And where being the more pertinent question. She thought she should test the acoustics. "Help!" she shouted. "Help!" The voice echoed for a time, wherever she was. It was eerily quiet and clearly isolated. She sighed, then suddenly she heard a creak as a door opened. The slight light from the monitor made Nate's face barely visible, but she recognized him. There was something different about him. He wasn't wearing his glasses. "Nice try," he said casually, "but no one will hear you in here. We're well out of harm's way here." "Where's Andrew?" she asked. Nate simply smiled at her. Tears welled up in Anna's eyes as she began to suspect the worst. "No. Please." "I'm sorry," Nate said. "Are you?" Anna asked with contempt. "Not really. He was a loose end. I gave him a chance to walk away. He didn't have the intelligence to accept it. Thus the loose end got cut," Nate said with a shrug. "And what about me? Am I next?" Anna asked. Nate approached her, and they looked each other eye to eye. "I haven't decided yet," Nate replied. "If Andrew's dead, you might as well. I loved him. We hadn't had the longest of times together, but I did, and you've taken that away from me," Anna said with tears and anger. "You're fiery. I like that. The truth is, I don't need to kill you. You were MIA for quite a while. Nobody will look for you. And sometimes it's nice to have someone to talk to, as myself. Playing the part of a high-ranking military officer can get quite tedious for long stretches. This is where I come to unwind. And now, it's where you will stay for the rest of your life. However long I decide that to be," mused Nate. "This building's old. I can tell from the musty smell. The walls are uneven. Brick?" Anna guessed. "Well, the juiced. This is my house. Has been for a long, long time. I watched it being built. I lived in it with my wife until she passed. Now it's fallen into decadence. But it still has a place in my artificial heart." Nate turned and approached the monitor. Anna heard the click of buttons as he typed. He must have had excellent eyesight to see in the dimness. "Wait a moment. He said artificial heart. Manual house construction hasn't been used for centuries," Anna stated. "How old are you?" "Old," Nate said simply. "But you don't look it." "No, I don't. But appearances can be deceptive to human eyes. Humans. You never see past the surface of things," Nate said. He seemed to be seething under the surface. "What are you?" Anna asked. Nate ignored her. "What are you? You murdered Bolt. You've kidnapped me. I have a right to know why," Anna cried angrily. Nate ceased what he was doing and turned back to her. "You really want to know?" Nate asked. "I do," Anna replied with no hesitation. "All right then.